The Illyrian homeworld, a planet of soft lavender skies and forests of silver-leaved trees, had grown quiet in the last months. Its people, the Illyrians, once known for their joyful songs and delicate architecture floating on rivers of liquid crystal, now moved in hushed whispers. Cities that once glimmered with light now sat in shadows, windows darkened, streets empty. The Voraxis, a merciless empire from the far reaches of the galaxy, had begun their slow march across Illyrian space. No civilization, not even those far older or more powerful, dared to oppose them. Most watched from a distance, calculating whether helping the Illyrians was worth the cost. In a small control tower above the city of Lysara, Commander Talon stared at the flickering holomap. Red dots moved across the system, marking Voraxis ships. The number of dots was too many for the Illyrians to fight. "We cannot hold them," she whispered to her second-in-command, a tall Illyrian named Soren. His 3 eyes, usually soft with curiosity, reflected panic. "Our children, our cities," Soren's voice cracked. "What are we to do if no one comes?" The Voraxis were feared too much. Others claimed neutrality. Only the humans had answered. Commander Talon had read the first human reply hours ago. She remembered the words clearly: "We will come. We do not turn from those in need." That simple statement, a promise from beings they had never met, carried more weight than all the other civilizations combined. The humans arrived in their exploration ships a day later, not massive warships, but sleek, efficient vessels that moved with confidence through space. The first human ship broke through the planet's upper atmosphere, and for the first time in weeks, a flicker of hope shone in the eyes of the Illyrians. Crowds gathered in the city squares, craning to see the human ships descend. Lieutenant Kara Simmons was the first human to set foot on Illyrian soil. She stepped from her craft in a suit designed to adapt to the planet's atmosphere. Her gaze swept over the pale lavender fields and the damaged cityscape. "Commander Talon?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Her accent was unfamiliar, rolling in ways that were strange to Illyrian ears, yet the intent behind her words needed no translation. "Yes, you are the humans?" Talon asked. "We are," Kara said. "We received your distress signal. We are here to help. We know that when someone calls for help, they should not be ignored. That is enough for us." The humans proposed a strategy that relied not on brute force, but on cleverness, speed, and the surprising abilities of Illyrian technology combined with human innovation. For the first time in months, Illyrian engineers felt purpose again. They and the human engineers worked side by side, translating designs, calibrating shields, and modifying ships for rapid evacuation. Illyrian ships were delicate, beautiful, but fragile. Humans reinforced them with new materials and emergency thrusters, creating a fleet capable of moving hundreds of civilians quickly. Meanwhile, humans studied the Voraxis threat, analyzing patterns, weaknesses, and assumptions. Kara walked among Illyrian citizens, explaining how their skills could be applied differently. Children who once learned music now learned emergency drills. Scientists repurposed research labs for communications and energy storage. Humans had a way of seeing potential where others only saw doom. Days passed quickly. News of human intervention spread to other parts of the galaxy, reaching civilizations who had ignored the Illyrians before. Some observed quietly, unsure whether humans would succeed. Others dismissed them, believing no species could face the Voraxis and survive. But the Illyrians no longer waited for others' approval. They acted, led by humans who had no ties, no expectation of reward, only a promise to stand with them. Talon watched the first coordinated human Illyrian patrols fly over the city. She felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. Humans were unlike any species she had ever encountered. They were neither faster nor more powerful than the Voraxis, but they carried something stronger: resolve. When faced with danger, they did not hesitate. When mistakes were made, they learned instantly, adapting and improving. Soren approached her, watching as a human engineer explained shield modifications to an Illyrian technician. "I do not understand," he admitted. "They are so ordinary, yet they are extraordinary." That courage, it inspires others. The Voraxis fired, but the combination of human strategy and Illyrian technology allowed civilians to be moved to safety. The first clash was brief but significant. It demonstrated not brute strength, but ingenuity and heart. Illyrians cheered when the human-led maneuvers forced the Voraxis scouts to retreat. For the first time in months, there was laughter, soft but genuine, among the people. At night, Commander Talon stood on a balcony overlooking the city, watching the human ships drift against the lavender skies. Kara joined her silently. "Do you think we can stop them?" Talon asked. Kara did not answer immediately. She looked out at the stars. "I do not know," she said finally. "But I know this, if we stand together, we give them a fight they did not expect. And maybe that is enough for now." Word spread across the planet of the human promise. Citizens who had hidden for fear now moved freely, helping wherever they could. Humans did not command with arrogance. They taught, advised, and acted alongside the Illyrians. It was not just their technology or tactics that gave hope. It was their presence, their unwavering choice to stand with those who could not defend themselves. Days turned into weeks. The Voraxis did not retreat. Their fleet was patient, waiting for the Illyrians to falter. But the Illyrians, now guided by humans, no longer faltered. Each success, however small, built confidence. Each civilian evacuated safely was a victory. Every maneuver that outsmarted the Voraxis reinforced the belief that they were not alone. In the command hall, Talon addressed the growing human Illyrian team. "They are stronger than us," she said. "But together we are cleverer. They expect us to cower. Let us give them something they never expected. Let us show them that life, hope, and courage cannot be crushed so easily. And we will do it every step of the way." For the first time, the Illyrians whispered not of despair, but of gratitude. They had cried for help for so long, and for so long the galaxy had ignored them. But the humans had answered. They had crossed vast distances, risking themselves for strangers they did not know, for a species no one else had chosen to save. That choice alone changed everything. Commander Talon looked at Kara, at the humans moving among her people, at the engineers and pilots and children learning together. "We are not alone," she said. "Not anymore, not as long as they are here. Someone always must." In that moment, no one doubted that the galaxy had changed. The Illyrians had learned that sometimes salvation came not from the mighty, but from those who simply chose to stand. And in the quiet night, humanity stood with them. The following morning, the Illyrian sky was tinged with orange as twin suns rose over the city of Lysara. The calm of dawn was deceptive. While the city's streets seemed alive with movement, engineers repairing ships, children practicing emergency drills, citizens carrying supplies, the tension in the air was palpable. Voraxis ships lingered at the edge of the system, silent and threatening. The humans moved among the Illyrians with purpose, their calm determination a quiet anchor against the fear that had gripped the planet for so long. Commander Talon stood on the balcony of the command tower, scanning the horizon through a reinforced observation lens. She could see the sleek shapes of the human ships glinting in the sunlight. Even small craft, she noted, seemed powerful simply because of the confidence with which they moved. The humans were organizing the Illyrians into a structure she had never imagined her people could follow so quickly. It was not just leadership. It was teaching, inspiring, and preparing for something bigger than mere survival. Lieutenant Kara Simmons approached, her boots making a soft clack against the metal floor. "They are ready," she said, her voice firm but calm. "The civilians are prepared for evacuation. The pilots know their roles, and the defensive systems are online. We find solutions under pressure. Action, even when risky, changes everything." Illyrians relied on patterns and harmony, humans on trial and adjustment. But over the course of several days, both sides learned from each other. Ships once meant only for transport could now outmaneuver larger Voraxis craft. Communication systems that had been limited to short distances now reached across the system, allowing for coordinated fleet movement. By midday, the first wave of civilian transports was ready. Kara and her team organized the departure, ensuring that each vessel had a clear flight path and emergency procedures. Illyrian families moved calmly under the guidance of human instructors, children gripping their parents' hands, yet sensing that for the first time in months, safety was possible. But even as preparations progressed, the Voraxis fleet remained a looming threat. Sensors detected enemy vessels slowly approaching, testing the human defenses. The humans did not panic. Instead, they began a series of maneuvers designed to confuse and delay the Voraxis. Small, fast ships flew in unpredictable patterns, while decoy drones emitted false energy signatures. Talon watched, fascinated. "Your ships, they are smaller than theirs. How do you expect to survive if the Voraxis attacks directly?" "We use what we have to make them hesitate, to give the Illyrians time to escape." When a small Voraxis attack drone appeared, human pilots lured it into a trap using simulated energy signals, destroying it without loss. Soren observed these actions closely, his antennae twitching in awe. They are fearless, he said quietly. Not because they are stronger, but because they do not doubt themselves or their choices. They trust that action is always better than despair. Kara called the human pilots together. Remember, we do not engage unless necessary. Protect the civilians, delay the enemy, and coordinate with Illyrian units. Trust each other. Trust your training. Illyrian transports lifted from the ground, gliding silently through the lavender skies, while human fighters flanked them, ready to intercept any threat. The city, which had once felt doomed, now thrummed with purpose. Families cheered as they watched the transports depart safely, their gratitude palpable. Yet despite their success, danger was always close. A Voraxis ship broke formation and approached rapidly. Human fighters darted forward, drawing the ship's attention away from the transports. Illyrian engineers operated newly installed defense turrets, guided by human tactical commands, striking at the advancing enemy with precision. In a coordinated effort, they managed to force the Voraxis vessel to retreat, its attack ineffective. Talen's heart raced as she watched the scene unfold. She realized something remarkable. The Illyrians were not just following humans, they were learning from them. They began to adapt, improvising in ways they never had before. When a Voraxis fighter tried a sudden maneuver, Illyrian pilots anticipated it, countering before human guidance could reach them. "Commander Talen," Soren said, eyes wide, "they are teaching us not only how to survive, but how to think differently. We are learning courage, strategy, and trust in ways we never imagined." She understood that every minute bought for the Illyrians was a victory, but it was not enough to survive if they simply waited for luck. They had to act, to fight smart, to give hope a chance to grow into victory. As evening fell, the sky was filled with ships moving steadily toward a nearby habitable system. Human and Illyrian vessels worked together seamlessly. Communications, once garbled by differences in language and technology, now flowed smoothly. Illyrians shouted orders, humans translated, and the result was harmony, not chaos. Talen finally had a moment to breathe. She looked over the lavender landscape, seeing the destruction left by the Voraxis, yet also witnessing signs of recovery and resilience. It was not only humans who were extraordinary, she realized, but the humans' choice had awakened something inside her people. Illyrians, who had been passive and fearful, were now actively fighting for survival, inspired by the humans' courage and moral certainty. At night, Kara and her team convened with Talen and Soren. The Voraxis fleet remained a threat, and the humans knew this was only the beginning. "We have bought time," Kara said, "but they will not stop. We need to prepare the next phase, evacuation of the remaining population and fortification of strategic locations. Not because we are stronger, not because we seek glory. We came because it is right. And right now, that is enough to give your people a chance to survive." Each day brought new challenges, Voraxis scouts attempting infiltration, technical malfunctions in the retrofitted ships, supply shortages. But each challenge was met with ingenuity. Illyrian scientists learned to improvise repairs using human materials. Children acted as runners to carry messages when communications failed. Entire families worked together to prepare transport ships. The humans taught lessons that went beyond technology. They showed Illyrians how to observe patterns, how to anticipate enemy moves, and most importantly, how to act with courage when fear threatened to paralyze them. Illyrians discovered that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. One afternoon, as a small Voraxis probe approached, a group of Illyrian engineers hesitated, unsure whether to engage. Kara stepped forward, placing her hand lightly on the control panel. "Do what you must," she said softly. "We are with you, you are capable, trust yourselves." The probe was neutralized, and the Illyrians felt a thrill of victory. It was small but significant. It proved they could act, they could defend themselves, and that with guidance, they could challenge the seemingly impossible. By the end of the second week, the majority of civilians had been evacuated to safer locations. The Voraxis had grown cautious, noting that the Illyrians and humans were not passive prey, but clever, adaptable, and resilient. Human strategies, combined with Illyrian ingenuity, had slowed the enemy's advance and provided hope that the planet might survive. Commander Talen finally allowed herself a moment of reflection. She realized that the humans' arrival had changed everything, not merely because of their technology, but because of their choice to act. Other civilizations had watched, calculated, and turned away. Humans had acted simply because it was the right thing to do. And in doing so, they had taught the Illyrians a lesson no calculation or machine could provide, that courage, hope, and moral choice could outshine fear, and that life could be defended even against overwhelming odds. Kara, standing beside her on the balcony, watched the lavender sky darken into evening. "We will not leave yet," she said. "Our work is not finished." But this is proof that even in the face of a great enemy, a choice to stand together changes the story. You see it now. Yet on Lysara, humans and Illyrians alike knew something important. They were no longer alone, and together they could face what came next. And in that quiet, powerful moment, the people of Lysara felt something they had not felt in months. A growing certainty that their survival and the survival of their world was no longer a distant hope. It was a possibility within reach. Humanity had chosen to act, and with that choice the galaxy had already begun to change. The Voraxis had waited longer than anyone expected. Weeks of cautious observation gave way to action. At first, the attacks were small, scouting ships probing the defenses, testing responses, but they quickly escalated into something more organized, more dangerous. From the outer edge of the system, massive Voraxis warships emerged, black and angular, casting long shadows across the lavender landscapes of Lysara. Their presence was oppressive, a reminder that the galaxy's deadliest empire had no intention of stopping. Yet humans did not falter. Kara Simmons stood on the command deck of the largest human ship, the Resolute, her eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. Around her, human officers coordinated the fleet, relaying instructions to Illyrian ships that had now begun to function like extensions of the human strategy. The Illyrians had adapted quickly, learning not only how to pilot and defend their ships but also how to think like their human allies, anticipating enemy moves and improvising solutions in real time. Commander Talon stood beside her, her three eyes scanning the holographic display of incoming ships. "They are coming faster than we expected," she said, voice tight with tension. "Can we hold them?" Human and Illyrian ships moved in coordinated formations, using decoys and feints to confuse the enemy. It was a delicate dance. One mistake could be catastrophic. A human fighter pilot, Lieutenant Darius Chen, darted ahead of the main formation, leading a Voraxis squadron away from the transports. Using speed and unexpected maneuvers, he drew the enemy fighters into a trap designed by Kara and Illyrian engineers. When the Voraxis ships followed, they encountered a field of energy nets and decoys, carefully positioned to disable their systems without destroying them outright. Back in the city, Illyrians watched anxiously as their people moved toward transport ships and safe zones. Families clung together, aware that this evacuation could be their last chance. Children peered out of windows, eyes wide, yet calm enough to follow the procedures taught by humans. Civilians moved efficiently, inspired not by orders but by the confidence and courage displayed by those standing with them. Soren moved among the evacuees, guiding them while coordinating with human officers. "Stay calm," he called, echoing the words he had learned from Kara and her team. "Trust the humans, they will not let harm come to you." When a Voraxis fighter suddenly broke formation and accelerated toward a transport ship, a human pilot intercepted it, drawing it away and forcing it to retreat. Illyrians saw the humans risk themselves repeatedly, not recklessly, but with calculated courage, and they began to believe they could survive too. Kara observed the battlefield from the Resolute, adjusting strategies as situations changed. "We need to protect the civilians first," she said into her communicator. "Divide the Voraxis fleet, use decoy channels, keep moving." They began to anticipate enemy movements, reacting with a combination of instinct and learned strategy. The result was a coordinated defense that even Kara had not expected to see so quickly. The Voraxis, confident in their superiority, had underestimated two things: the humans' ingenuity and the Illyrians' willingness to act. In moments of crisis, Illyrians who had once hidden now faced danger head-on, guided by humans but increasingly able to make split-second decisions independently. One human fighter, Lieutenant Mariah Patel, led a daring maneuver to block a Voraxis squadron attempting to flank the transports. Using smaller, faster ships to simulate multiple threats, they forced the enemy into a narrow channel. Illyrians stationed their activated, newly installed energy nets, trapping the enemy ships momentarily and causing confusion in their formation. The first real casualties of the engagement were minimal, thanks to careful planning and human foresight. Yet the intensity of the attack made it clear that the Voraxis would not relent. Kara knew that survival would require more than clever tactics. It would require the Illyrians to rise fully to the challenge. Sorin noticed the change in his people as the battle progressed. Hesitation and fear were replaced with determination. Illyrians who had never flown combat ships now maneuvered with confidence. Engineers operated defensive systems with skill and speed. Citizens helped one another in ways they had never imagined, carrying supplies, aiding the wounded, and maintaining morale. Even Commander Talon, usually composed, felt the surge of pride. Humans had arrived to help, yes, but in doing so they had awakened a courage within her people that had been dormant. The Illyrians were no longer passive, waiting for salvation. They were partners in their own survival. The Voraxis, realizing the human strategy, attempted to escalate the attack. Larger ships moved into range, firing powerful energy blasts at defensive positions. Kara's team responded with precise countermeasures, using energy shields, mobile decoys, and rapid repositioning to minimize damage. Illyrians learned to adjust their energy shields dynamically, shifting power in response to threats and distributing resources efficiently across the fleet. A particularly large Voraxis cruiser broke through part of the defense perimeter. Talon felt a chill run through her as the ship's energy weapons swept toward a civilian transport. Kara remained calm, issuing orders. Deploy the countermeasures now. Illyrians power the energy nets to maximum. Focus fire on their engines. The cruiser faltered and retreated, a victory celebrated by both humans and Illyrians alike. In the aftermath of the first major engagement, the city below remained remarkably intact. Civilians who had watched in fear now felt a sense of hope. Children cheered when they saw their families arriving safely at the designated evacuation zones. Illyrians shared glances of disbelief and gratitude with their human allies. Sorin approached Talon, his expression serious but bright. "We did not expect to survive this day, but we have, and it is because of them, the humans." "This is only the beginning," she said. "The Voraxis will regroup and strike again, but every day we survive, every life we protect, is proof that courage and cleverness matter more than sheer force. We will continue to fight smart, and we will continue to inspire the Illyrians to stand with us." The Voraxis probed defenses repeatedly, but each attempt was met with creative resistance. Human and Illyrian ships worked in unison, using terrain, sensor manipulation, and clever decoys to frustrate the enemy. Every skirmish taught both humans and Illyrians new lessons: how to anticipate moves, how to act quickly, how to maintain morale under pressure. One evening, after another successful defense, Talon walked among the Illyrian engineers who were repairing damaged ships. She watched as human officers trained Illyrian pilots in emergency maneuvers. Young Illyrians, once timid, now shouted commands confidently, coordinating with humans seamlessly. "This is extraordinary," she murmured. "We were never this capable before. They have not only saved us, but taught us to save ourselves." Their forces had underestimated the human-led defense, and their confidence waned. Illyrians, who had once quivered at the sight of a Voraxis ship, now stood ready, defending their cities, their transports, and their families with growing skill and courage. Even the smallest acts mattered. Civilians carrying supplies across the city, children alerting authorities to damaged systems, engineers improvising repairs. These acts, guided and inspired by humans, multiplied into a formidable defense network. The Voraxis discovered that strength is not measured by weapons alone, but by the will to act, the intelligence to plan, and the courage to risk everything for others. By the end of the second week of fighting, Lysara remained intact. More civilians had been evacuated safely, and human Illyrian coordination had reached a level of efficiency that rivaled some of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Kara and her team knew that the Voraxis would continue to challenge them, but the message was clear. Humans had chosen to stand with the Illyrians, and that choice had transformed fear into action, despair into courage. Commander Talon looked at the lavender sky, now streaked with the light of two setting suns. The Voraxis fleet was still present, lurking at the system's edge, but the Illyrians no longer felt powerless. They had witnessed the humans' courage, learned their strategies, and discovered their own strength. For the first time, they believed survival was possible, not through luck or mercy, but through choice, ingenuity, and unity. Kara stood beside her, quiet but resolute. "They will strike again," she said. But we will be ready, and the Illyrians will be ready too. They are no longer a people waiting to be saved. They are a people who can fight with us and for themselves. Ships patrolled silently, transports moved steadily, and humans and Illyrians alike felt something they had never experienced before. The knowledge that even in the shadow of overwhelming power, courage, unity, and cleverness could tip the scales. Humanity had chosen to act, and in doing so had transformed an entire species. The galaxy, they all realized, would never be the same. The twin suns of Lysara had barely risen when the Voraxis struck in full force. Unlike the previous attacks, this was no probing skirmish or testing of defenses. A massive fleet of warships poured into the system, their black hulls blotting out the light of distant stars. The lavender skies trembled with the approach of their energy weapons, and for the first time, even the humans acknowledged the scale of the threat. Kara Simmons stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes sweeping over the approaching enemy. Around her, human officers coordinated the fleet with calm precision. Illyrian ships, now trained and confident, followed the human strategies flawlessly, moving in formations designed to protect civilian transports while engaging the enemy when necessary. Commander Talon stood beside Kara, her three eyes reflecting the rising tension. "This is it," she said quietly. "This is what we feared. Can we survive?" She watched as the Voraxis fleet closed the distance. "Survive? We will do more than survive," she said finally. "We will fight smart and we will protect every life we can. Illyrians, humans together, that is our strength." "Everyone ready?" he called. The Illyrians responded with steady voices, their fear tempered by courage. The Voraxis fleet opened fire. Energy beams cut through space, striking empty areas to test defenses. The humans had anticipated this, and Illyrian shields, reinforced with human technology, absorbed the brunt of the assault. Small groups of human fighters darted forward, drawing Voraxis ships away from civilians, while Illyrians followed orders with growing confidence. In the city, the first wave of evacuations began. Civilians boarded the retrofitted transports, moving efficiently through corridors lined with human instructors and Illyrian guides. Children held hands with their parents, some whispering thanks to the humans who had taught them drills, while others followed the lead of their own people who now displayed courage they had never known. The first major clash erupted near the asteroid belt that formed a natural barrier on the system's edge. Voraxis cruisers attempted to flank the transports, but human and Illyrian pilots anticipated the move. Smaller human ships acted as decoys, drawing the enemy into traps set by Illyrians using newly installed energy nets and precise fire control systems. The tactic worked perfectly, disabling several Voraxis fighters without risking civilian lives. Talon watched from her observation deck as Illyrian pilots executed complex maneuvers, weaving through asteroid fields with human guidance. "They've changed," she whispered to Kara. "They are no longer frightened. They are ready. When you see someone stand for you, it teaches you to stand yourself." Civilians watching from below saw flashes of energy and knew the humans were protecting them, not merely fighting an abstract battle in space. Soren coordinated the defense, guiding Illyrian pilots in real time. "Keep formation, focus fire on their engines, use the asteroids," he shouted. The humans moved alongside, offering advice and demonstrating advanced maneuvers. Every success, no matter how small, gave Illyrians confidence and sharpened their skills. The Voraxis grew frustrated. They had expected passive prey, but instead they encountered clever tactics, rapid adaptation, and surprising resistance. Human and Illyrian pilots used every advantage: speed, agility, knowledge of terrain, and coordinated energy nets. Voraxis ships, despite their superior firepower, were forced into retreat or scattered formations. One particular engagement near the city's outer orbit tested the combined human-Illyrian fleet. A massive Voraxis cruiser advanced toward a transport convoy, its energy cannons threatening to destroy several ships. Kara directed a team of human fighters to draw the cruiser into a trap, while Illyrian engineers activated a newly constructed energy grid. The cruiser, caught off guard, became temporarily immobilized, allowing transports to escape safely. The Illyrians who had manned the defense systems cheered, realizing that their actions directly saved lives. In the city below, Talon moved among civilians, offering reassurance. Families were nervous but organized, following evacuation plans precisely. Children carried messages, adults assisted in repairs, and the elderly helped coordinate resources. Human instructors oversaw operations, guiding Illyrians but allowing them to take initiative. Sauron approached Talon, eyes bright. "They fight not for themselves alone," he said. "They fight for us, and that courage spreads. We are learning to fight, to lead, to protect. This is something new." Kara anticipated this, coordinating simultaneous strikes that disabled several Voraxis fighters. Illyrians began to anticipate enemy moves independently, setting up countermeasures and taking bold actions without human guidance. Even smaller acts mattered. Civilians repaired minor damages to ships, rerouted energy to shields, and carried supplies across hazardous areas. The humans taught them not only how to act, but why their actions mattered. Every choice, every decision became a demonstration of courage and unity. As evening fell, the tide of the battle began to turn. The Voraxis, realizing their numerical advantage could not easily overcome the combined fleet, began to retreat. Several of their ships had been damaged or temporarily disabled, their confidence shaken by the ingenuity and courage of their enemies. Illyrians who had once hidden behind walls now celebrated small victories, feeling a sense of empowerment they had never known. Kara gathered her officers after the engagement. "This is only the first full-scale attack," she said. "The Voraxis will regroup, but we have shown them that cleverness, unity, and courage are stronger than fear. Illyrians have proven themselves, and together we will continue to defend them. Today we have learned not to wait for salvation, but to create it ourselves. This is our strength." The human fleet patrolled the skies, ready for the next attack. Illyrians moved with confidence, civilians were secure, and for the first time in months, hope felt real. Kara stood on the Resolute's bridge, looking down at the lavender planet below. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "But every day we protect them, every life we save, proves that courage, unity, and cleverness matter more than any empire's firepower. Humanity has chosen to act. That choice has changed everything. We will continue to fight, not just for survival, but for what is right." Illyrians now understood that their survival was no longer solely dependent on others. They had a role, a voice, and the ability to act decisively. Kara turned to Talon. "We will stay as long as we are needed. We will continue to fight smart, and we will continue to teach your people how to fight alongside us. Together, we are stronger than any enemy that underestimates us." That choice had sparked courage, ingenuity, and unity, transforming fear into a formidable force capable of standing against the galaxy's deadliest empire. And for the first time in a long while, the people of Lysara believed that survival was not just possible, it was theirs to shape. The Voraxis had underestimated the human spirit. They had assumed fear would dominate, that the Illyrians would collapse under the weight of their attack. But they had miscalculated. Courage, determination, and cleverness are not bound by numbers or size, and humanity had proven this. At dawn, the Voraxis fleet regrouped, assembling for a final, decisive strike. Massive warships moved into formation, ready to crush the remaining Illyrian defenses and eliminate the human presence once and for all. The lavender skies of Lysara were streaked with the shadows of their approaching vessels, and the entire planet braced for what seemed like the end. Kara Simmons stood on the bridge of the Resolute, observing the enemy fleet. Around her, human officers coordinated with Illyrian commanders. Commander Talon, now fully confident in her people's abilities, stood beside her. "This is it," Talon said, her voice steady. "This is the fight we have been preparing for. Every strategy, every lesson, every act of courage, it all comes together now. Illyrians, humans together, that is our strength." Families who had been evacuated now watched from a safe distance, knowing that the people fighting above them were their protectors, both human and Illyrian alike. The Voraxis fleet opened fire. Massive energy beams tore through the skies, striking defensive turrets, energy grids, and decoys. Small human and Illyrian fighters darted between the blasts, drawing the enemy's focus away from the civilian transports below. The first waves of Voraxis attacks were brutal, yet perfectly anticipated. Kara's team had predicted their tactics, and Illyrians executed countermeasures with precision. Energy nets captured Voraxis drones, decoys misled warships, and strategic maneuvers disrupted enemy formations. In the city, civilians watched in awe. Children whispered to their parents about the bravery of the humans and their own people. The streets, once tense with fear, were alive with hope. Supplies moved efficiently, emergency shelters functioned perfectly, and every small act contributed to the defense. One massive Voraxis cruiser advanced toward a critical evacuation route. Its energy weapons swept across the sky, threatening dozens of transports. Kara quickly organized a coordinated response. Human fighters flanked the cruiser, while Illyrians operated a complex energy net system designed to immobilize it temporarily. The cruiser's engines faltered, and it drifted helplessly. Human pilots launched precision strikes, targeting key systems without endangering nearby civilians. The Illyrians who operated the defense system cheered when their efforts disabled the cruiser entirely. They realized their actions mattered. Courage was contagious, and now it was their own. Meanwhile, smaller Voraxis ships attempted to flank the fleet. Illyrian pilots, once inexperienced, now executed maneuvers that humans had taught them. They anticipated enemy moves, countered attacks, and coordinated with human fighters seamlessly. Each victory, no matter how small, weakened the Voraxis morale and strengthened Illyrian confidence. Soren watched as a young Illyrian pilot, barely 16, successfully engaged and disabled a Voraxis drone. "Look at them," he said to Talon. "They are not children anymore, they are defenders." They did not command, they inspired, and we rose to meet them. When Voraxis cruisers attempted to divide the fleet, humans directed Illyrians to form flexible formations that neutralized the threat. When energy shields faltered, engineers improvised repairs instantly. Every moment was a test of ingenuity, courage, and cooperation. As the sun began to set over Lysara, the final stage of the battle unfolded. A Voraxis command ship advanced toward the planet's surface, intending to deliver a devastating strike that could destroy the city itself. Kara and Talon knew that direct engagement would be dangerous, but retreat was not an option. Every moment counted, every life mattered. Kara coordinated a daring maneuver. Human fighters drew the command ship into a trap, while Illyrian engineers activated a massive energy grid, channeling power from multiple sources. Civilians who had been evacuated participated indirectly, monitoring sensors, relaying information, and ensuring systems functioned perfectly. The Voraxis ship, trapped and targeted from multiple angles, faltered. Its engines were disabled, and human Illyrian pilots struck with precision, neutralizing the threat. The skies were filled with cheers, not just from humans but from Illyrians who had fought bravely. Families reunited, knowing that the city below them was safe. Commander Talon, standing beside Kara, felt a warmth she had never experienced before. "We survived," she whispered. "Not by luck, not by hiding, but by choosing to act, together." Their fleet, battered and demoralized, withdrew to the far edges of the system. It was not a surrender. They remained a threat. But the galaxy had witnessed something they had not anticipated. Courage, unity, and intelligence could outmatch raw power. In the aftermath, humans and Illyrians worked tirelessly to repair damage, recover resources, and ensure civilians were safe. Illyrians who had once been passive were now confident in their ability to defend themselves. Children played near the transport docks, laughing as they mimicked maneuvers they had learned from human pilots. Families contributed to repairs, seeing how every action mattered. Talon addressed the Illyrian people for the first time since the battle ended. "We have survived not because we were strongest, but because someone chose to stand with us. Humans came when no one else would, and in doing so they have taught us courage, resilience, and hope. We are no longer a people waiting to be saved. We are a people who can rise, who can fight, who can endure. They have not only defended us, they have inspired us to stand, to act, to protect our own future. We are stronger because of their choice. And now you will carry it forward." The Voraxis threat remained a distant shadow in the galaxy, but the Illyrians no longer lived in fear. They had learned to fight, to coordinate, and to trust themselves. Humanity had shown them the power of moral courage, cleverness, and unity. The choice to act rather than hide or surrender had created a new future. On the final evening before the humans were scheduled to leave, Talon, Soren, and Kara stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Lights shimmered across the lavender landscape, ships patrolled in the distance, and the wind carried a sense of calm and renewal. Talon spoke first. "You have changed everything, our people, our cities, even our understanding of ourselves. We will never forget what you have done. That lesson will last longer than any weapon, longer than any battle. It will stay with us forever." As the ships lifted from the lavender plains, the Illyrians watched silently, hearts full of gratitude and new strength. Kara sent one final message to the Illyrian leaders. "Remember this, You are capable, brave, and strong. Stand together, protect one another, and act when it is right. That choice, your choice, defines your future. Humanity's choice had sparked a change far greater than any battle. It had awakened courage, ingenuity, and hope in an entire species. Talon, standing alone later that night, gazed at the stars where the human fleet had vanished. They could have ignored us, she whispered. Every other civilization did, but they chose to act. They chose to stand. That choice changed everything. The lavender skies of Lysara glowed under twin moons, reflecting off repaired city spires and calm rivers of crystal. Life was fragile, yes, but it was stronger than it had ever been. Humanity had chosen to stand, and in doing so, the galaxy had witnessed what is possible when beings act not out of fear, not out of calculation, but out of a simple, unyielding sense of right. And the Illyrians, forever changed, would carry that lesson forward. Hope had returned. Courage had been reborn, and in the shadow of darkness, humanity had proven once again that it could be the light that others relied on.